Good afternoon. Good afternoon. The meeting of the Faculty Senate will come to order. As a reminder, we are once again using the mobile apps. It's the Seaboard Mobile ID. Has everyone, all of the senators here, signed in, or at least seen Logan when you came in to let him know you're here? Okay, good. We do have a quota, by the way. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a roll call from the regionals. First, Potomac State, how many are present?
Potomac State has 3 present.
Okay, and we can see you, thanks. And WVU Tech, how many are present?
WVU Tech has 5 senators present.
Okay, great. So next up is the minutes. So the minutes of the February Faculty Senate meeting, they have been distributed as an annex to the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the February minutes? Okay, hearing none, the minutes are approved as written. And then next is a report from President Gee.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have been told by our chair that we have to be finished in 45 minutes. So I'll try to get done in 45 minutes, so whatever. I'm grateful to be here, and I am going to be very short today because, as you know, we have the HLC, the Higher Learning Commission panel here on campus, and we've had a number of meetings. I'm pleased to report that everything is going very well, but I've appreciated the participation of so many people in this process. An accreditation process is to make us better, not to find out that we have big potholes. And so this process, I think, has been very useful, and I'm very grateful for the good work that all of you are doing. Let me just say a couple of things. We have appointed a new vice president for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and you'll get a chance to meet her. We've asked her to be invited. Misha Poor. Misha comes to us from Charleston. Many of you met Misha. She was she gave the keynote address at the Women in Color luncheon. It's a long day today, and Misha is just a fabulous individual. Been on the state legislature, is a graduate of Howard, is a graduate of the Southern University Law Center, is a West Virginian, and I think you're going to really enjoy her leadership. We are changing again, focusing on the quality of Greek life at this institution. We have made a number of immediate changes in terms of requirements, expectations, grade averages, a variety of other things. We have our fraternities on a review process, and we're very hopeful that that this will continue to increase the quality of our environment at the university. We are very concerned about pedestrian safety. We've had 2 young people hit in the last several weeks. One was killed, a wonderful young lady, and really a wonderful young lady. It was just one of those tragedies. And then our second student is starting to improve a little bit. We have a wonderful group of neurosurgeons who have done an excellent job in helping her. But again, that's too many. We need to figure out how to solve this. Rob Alsop and his team are working very much on that. One of the problems that we have, if you notice it, when you drive past the mountain, no one looks. Have you noticed that? No one looks. I mean, we have developed this habit among our students that will automatically stop or else they're invulnerable. Now, I'm not going to put the blame on the students, but I'm going to say that we do need to have a distinct conversation about their responsibility, our responsibility. And one of the things that is very interesting to me in terms of the culture, you'll see 4 or 5 friends walking along. Instead of talking to each other, they're all on their telephones. No conversation taking place. The intellectual commerce is very limited. But this we have to stop. We're a very spread out campus. We have some big roads going through us. We have opportunities for people to speed, and we just need to stop that. Finally, our living learning centers. I know the provost wanted to talk a little bit more about that, but our living learning centers, of which we now have how many? 1,100, 1,200? How many students we have? About 1,200 students participating in. These have been a great encouragement to us. It's sort of a college. It's sort of a college within a college where students have an opportunity with like-minded folks or organizational areas to really come together and really improve the quality of their academic experience. And we are going to increase those over time, but we're very, very pleased about those. Saying that, I'm ready to sit down. Anyone have any questions for me? Any questions today? Everyone have a great day. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, next is report from Provost Joyce McConnell.
If you watched the Oscars last night, you know if you were the quickest in your thank yous, you won a jet ski. And so I'm going to see if I can be quicker than Gordon and win the jet ski. So just a quick update on the legislative session. It's just about over. We'll heave a great sigh of relief when it is. We think that we have been successful in defeating campus carry. Thank you very much. But we can't count our victories as permanent. We believe that it will arise again next year, but last year we were able to rise up against it and succeed, and this year we were, and we will hope that we will be able to do the same next year. But I want to be completely honest with you that being able to have it set aside this year doesn't necessarily mean it won't come back up. So we'll just continue to mobilize, continue to be unified, and I think that we will succeed again. In terms of free speech, you may remember there was an anti-free speech bill running that said it was a free speech bill, but it wasn't really. And so that one seems to have died as well. So we're pleased about that. We think the free community college, remember that was floating around, we think that's still hung up. I haven't heard the latest on that, so don't quote me on that. But those were the biggest issues for us so far. Obviously, many of you, I can see you, have been very affected by the teachers' strike, and I really want to thank each and every one of you for being accommodating for those who work for you and with you, and for accommodating your students who are also struggling. We can be a place of great support if we allow people to be able to have the flexibility they need with their children, and I really appreciate that. The HLC visit is going very well. We have a great team. I encourage all of you to just shift over to the next room at 4 o'clock. At the forum this morning, we had about 150 people. We hope that we will have a similar count this afternoon for the open forum. And if, in fact, it gets too crowded in there, I think we could move people over here or open up the doors. So thank you all for everything that you have done to help us get to this point. If you have not had a chance to look at what they now call the assurance document, remember years ago we did self-studies? Well, now we do assurance documents. And I don't think that many of you will read the 180-page comprehensive report. I think even fewer of you will read the report and link to the documents. But there is a beautiful 10-page summary that was provided to us by Elizabeth Hamilton, who has been steering this whole process. And that 10-page document is actually worth reading. It gives you a really good overview of what has gone on, not only in the process, but things that you may not even realize about the university. The overwhelming feeling that we've had, and I know David, you were there, Lena, you were there in our last meeting on 1WVU, but one of the things that we're hearing a lot about is their interest in how we've been able to shift to 1WVU and the progress that we've made in what in institutional time is a very short period of time. So I want to thank you all for that because you've been great partners for us. And actually, we said that in the last meeting, that we could not have done what we have been able to do without the help of the Faculty Senate as a whole and Faculty Senate leadership in particular, and particularly those Faculty Senate leaders who have represented the Senate on the Board of Governors. So thank you all very, very much. Anyone doing significant work in innovation, entrepreneurship, and design here at WVU is encouraged to apply to participate in what we hope will be only our first Demo Day, a showcase of all that we're doing in these areas for both students and community. It's scheduled for April 19th. And individuals, groups, and classes can apply to participate at the Idea Hub website. So I encourage you to look at that. I do want to mention, many of you probably were not able to get tickets to the TEDx talks on Friday. They were very scarce. I want to explain why that is and hope that, Keith is right here. He could even tell you better. If I get it wrong, Keith, give me the signal. But my understanding is that the license that we get from TEDx limits us to only 100 people in our first iteration. And that over time, as we evolve, then our license will expand to allow us to do it with a greater number of people. What I do want to share with you is that the TEDx talks were extraordinary, truly extraordinary. Please get online and take a look at them. I could go on and on about them, and I won't because we're short on time, but please take a look at them. They were really deeply moving, and I learned a lot from them. Just a few shout outs to some of our faculty who've had some great achievements. Antar Jutla has received a National Science Foundation Career Award. That is actually to do research on extreme events and enhance climatic variability impact and the emergence of waterborne pathogens in the infection of humans. And so really, really exciting, wonderful work. The Paul Kasich has been named the Benedum Scholar. He is a professor in physics and astronomy in Eberly. He's been named as the Benedum Distinguished Scholar in Physical Sciences and Technology. So I'm very, very excited about that. He's also been recognized by an external NSF Career Award and the McElwain Medal for Early Career Scientists. Emma Harrison is a junior political science major and honors student, and she's been named a Newman Civic Fellow for 2018. The program's run by the Campus Compact, a national nonprofit organization that advances the public purpose of higher education to educate students for civic and social responsibility. And she plans to use her fellowship year to continue her passionate and tireless advocacy for prison education. So an extension of some other great prison work that's being done on campus. And finally, I may have mentioned this the last time, but just in case I didn't, Dylan Muley Alexander has been the first recipient for us of the 2018 Gates Fellowship, which will allow him to go and study at the University of Cambridge in the UK, and this is through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So very excited. For those of you who don't know Dylan, a lot of the work that he was doing here that has put him in that kind of space where he will be able to go to Cambridge is he did some really early work on food scarcity and food deserts in West Virginia, which is another thing that I wanted to say about the strike. One of the things that if you do hear calls for bringing in food, donating food, bringing food to our food pantries, with the strike and with all of the children who are going unfed because school is not in, families really are in greater need than they have been before. So any of you who hear the call for that, please heed that call. And then finally on pedestrian safety, Rob Alsop, Randy Hudak, who's our head of facilities, me, I'm trying to think who else was there, Ron Justice from our local legislative team, all joined and a student government organization representative joined the Morgantown Monongalia Metropolitan Planning Organization on Friday for its initial meeting on pedestrian safety and how that will feed in to all of the planning we're doing around improving our roads, but also our pedestrian areas, our biking areas. So there's great, solid representation there on the part of the university to try to answer these questions that we have and issues that we have about pedestrian safety. So those are my updates, Mr. President. And I guess I will ask WVU Tech and Potomac State whether they have any questions.
No questions, ma'am.
Okay.
No questions.
Thank you very much. I understand I have to give you time so there's no feedback. Yes.
Natalie Sincorker in Epperly College. I have been asked by members of my department to ask why there hasn't been any sort of public declaration of support from the administration regarding the strike.
Well, that's an interesting question. We have tried to support the strike in every way we can, particularly by accommodating our own employees and students. It's typically not our position that we actually take a university position on issues that aren't directly engaging issues of higher education. That may be an inadequate answer for you, but we are trying to do everything we possibly can to make sure that we're supporting all of our people who are involved in the process.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions? Thank you, Natalie, for asking the question.
Can I ask a question?
Okay, you can ask a question.
Okay. So one of the questions I'm getting, and it's related to the strike as well, is depending on how the strike resolves itself, the legislation may impose, a certain percentage pay increase for state employees. I was wondering if we would be covered by that, or how, our salary increases would relate.
Well, as you all know, we've been working on a salary enhancement package. And I've talked about in the past, we are looking at a comprehensive way of raising our salaries and closing the gap. This is something that we've been talking to the Board of Governors about, and the Board of Governors is very committed to it. What we're not quite positive about yet, until we see the ink on the page, is how the 5% raise is going to impact us. One thing that I do want to share with you, just in terms of a piece of budget knowledge, is that when the state mandates a raise to us, it actually doesn't give us the money. It gives us a little bit of money for the people who they think remain on some notion of state funds. But so whatever it is, we find out the funding from the state will be much less than we would need to meet the mandate. And so I'm hesitant to answer any more than that because it's so complicated. But as soon as we know, I will be absolutely happy to share that with you and share how that's going. So we have two steps here. We have to figure out what it is the legislation is going to do and what the funding is going to be. And then we have to figure out how that fits in to the raise plan that we've already been working on. And so as soon as I have those two pieces of information, I will come back to you and explain how that's going to work.
I'm Peter Schaefer of the Davis College. I have a question regarding pedestrian traffic safety. With all the improvement on the Evansdale campus, there has been a shift in the traffic flow from both sides of the campus to one side of the campus. And there has been a realignment of bus stops. One of my colleagues asked me, because he noticed that the bus are once again stopping in front of the CAC. Even so, there is no longer the pullout that there used to be there. And I've noticed it a few times. I don't think it's a huge hazard, but I think it is a hazard. It certainly slows down traffic. And for people who are turning there, like myself, it impedes visibility. So I do think it's at least some safety issue, and we would like to ask you to check into that.
Well, thank you very much for bringing that forward. One of the things our students have been doing, along with members of the executive team and faculty members, is doing safety walks around campus at different times of day and trying to identify hazards that we otherwise wouldn't know about. And so if you know of hazards like this where you think it might be causing a problem, I would really appreciate it if you would shoot me an email, tell me exactly the location. This is for everyone. If you know of a hazard, you've seen a problem, please get that information to us, because we don't have enough eyes to be everywhere all the time, 24 hours a day. But with all of you feeding us information, we're going to learn about many, many more of those spots. And thank you so much for raising it, because I forgot to ask for that feedback. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll keep my my remarks short because of the HLC visit. But as Provost McConnell mentioned, there is an open forum next door, starting at 4, if we can get done in time. It's on Criteria 1, mission, and Criteria 2, integrity. So I'd encourage all senators, when we're done, to move over there. A few Faculty Senate housekeeping things. Senate elections are now open for regular senators. So if your constituency has open seats, you should have received a ballot by email from Qualtrics last Friday, and those ballots will remain open until Friday at 5 p.m. So if you've not voted already, please remember to do so. Also, nominations for chair-elect will close today. That's one of the agenda items that you've probably seen, so I'll provide more detail when we get to that item. And then we're also taking nominations for the second Board of Governors position. And so remember, this is an individual that must come from either Extension or Health Sciences. But I'll remind you, this is a person who represents the entire university, but just by our Constitution needs to be from either Extension or Health Sciences. So nominations can be made from the floor during the April meeting, or you can make it by email up until May 7th. And the vote will start soon after that. Then we also had a survey asking about committees, and that's since closed. We got a pretty good response, although we didn't actually get a lot of responses from senators. So if there's a committee that you would like to serve on and you did not respond, please let me know. And then in terms of the Board of Governor rules, if you remember last month, C.B. Wilson came and presented a set of 6 faculty-related Board of Governor rules. Those were presented at the last Board of Governors meeting. The public comment period is still open, and they'll be open through March 20th. So I would encourage you to go to the Board of Governors website, look at the policies, and you can enter some comments if you have any. Okay, the board does look at those comments. They take them seriously, and they actually review each and every one of them with the board. Okay. And then also, as Stan will probably mention, there's going to be a special Board of Governors meeting tomorrow to consider 2 other rules, one in reduction of force and the other one in academic program creation and review. So again, for those, I would encourage you to look at the rules and provide your comments. I also wanted to give you an update on PEIA. I spent most of my report last time talking about PEIA. There's not a whole lot to report other than PEIA is now officially frozen, so the program next year, the plan premiums, will look the same as this year. There will still be a Healthy Tomorrows component, and you can meet the component by either volunteering to use Go365, or you can complete the old paper form. And if you fail to meet the targets, then the penalty is a $500 increase in your deductible. But that won't be until next year. Meanwhile, a small group of us, faculty and staff and administration, have been meeting to explore alternatives to PEIA, or maybe plans within PEIA, trying to figure out ways to improve things. And you may have seen that the governor announced a PEIA task force. I think later today, the full composition of the task force will be released. There'll be 23 members, 12 of which are appointed by the governor, and we do expect to have at least some WVU representation on that task force. So we'll keep you posted on that. Finally, an announcement, and I mentioned this last time, there are upcoming Decide WVU Days on March 24th and April 14th. So the Office of Admissions is seeking faculty who are passionate about the university to help students decide to come to WVU. In addition, we'd like to get some major specific student organizations involved. So if you're a faculty advisor to an organization, please consider participating. And if you're interested, just let me know, and I'll connect you with the right person, okay? So I'm not sure if I win the jet ski or not, but does anyone have any questions for me? Tech or Kaiser, do you have any
Potomac State
questions?
has no questions,
Okay.
sir. Thank you.
Okay.
No questions, thank you.
Any questions from the audience? Okay, good. We can move on to our next agenda item. And for that, I'm going to turn the podium over to Chad Proudfoot.
Good afternoon. So we have a little Faculty Senate housekeeping piece that we need to take care of today. The Faculty Constitution states that all of our standing committees can only have a maximum lifespan of 5 years, and then we have to reauthorize those again specifically in a resolution. So we've come to that time again when we need to do that, and we wanted to go ahead and get that taken care of before the Committee on Committees starts meeting to fill committees for next year in case something happened and we decided to change one of those. So this has been through the Executive Committee, and you have the resolution as Annex 1A. The Constitution states we have to pass a resolution. So this resolution reauthorizes all of the current standing committees that we have, along with their committee charges, and it gives them another 5-year lifespan. We're required to state what the review process would be for those. So we've mentioned that they needed to provide at least an annual report, which is what everybody does now. And in fact, a lot of our committees actually report a lot more often than that. We also added in a provision to state that if we create any more standing committees over the course of the next 5 years, that they'll be put on the same review and reapproval as these, so that we can always do them as a batch. If you look at the annex, the two committees that aren't on here are the Executive Committee and the Committee on Committees, Memberships, and Constituencies, and those are because those committees are created in the Faculty Constitution, so we don't have to reauthorize those. So on behalf of the Executive Committee, Mr. Chairman, I move the approval of Annex 1A.
Okay, thank you, Secretary Proudfoot. You're also the parliamentarian. Does this need a second? It does not. Okay, so this comes from exec, and it does not need a second. Is there any discussion of the motion? Okay, hearing none, we can vote on it. So all of those in favor of Annex 1A, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Potomac State, how do you vote?
Potomac State has 3 ayes.
Okay, thank you. Tech, how do you vote?
WVU Tech has 5 ayes.
Okay, thank you. So the motion is approved. Next item up is announcement of declared candidates and nominations from the floor for the position of Senate Chair-elect. So I'll remind you, this is a Board of Governors year, so this person will serve as Chair-elect next academic year, Faculty Senate Chair during the 2019 and 2020 academic year, starting a 2-year term on the Board of Governors that would continue through June of 2021. Okay, we have received 2 declared candidates, nominations for 2 declared candidates, and they are, in no particular order, Emily Murphy and Virginia Kleist. So next, at this point, I would like to see, well, first of all, I believe, Emily, you do accept, right? Okay. And Virginia, I'm not sure. Yeah, you accept. Okay. I understood that to be the case, but I wanted to make sure. So next, I wanted to call for additional nominations from the floor. Are there any additional nominations? Potomac State, do you have any nominations?
No, sir.
Okay. Tech, do you have any nominations?
No nominations.
Okay, hearing no nominations, are there any objections to closing the nominations? Okay, hearing none, the nominations are closed. So these two candidates will have an opportunity to speak before the Senate at the April meeting, and we'll ask you for your candidate statement beforehand and get that circulated. So thank you for your willingness to serve, Emily and Virginia. Okay, so next item on the agenda is the Curriculum Committee report. And this is given by Kim Floyd, Chair-elect.
Okay, we have 8 approval items, and like I did at the last Senate meeting, I'd like to bundle these and consider them as a group. However, I did want to mention on Annex 2, we are removing SM 546, and also on Annex 3, I just wanted to make mention, it is concerning Math 126, and previously there was a Math 126A, B, and C, and it was dependent upon the number of days they met. These are going to be replaced with just a single course of Math 126. So any course that has a Math 126 A, B, or C as a prereq will just be changed and replaced with Math 126.
I think we may have one other change, which is a change of title on ACE, what is it, ACE 360?
Oh, it was ARE 380. We did change the title.
ARE 380.
Yeah, we
the
did
first one in
change the
report.
title. We just received approval, actually. I didn't mean to check my phone while
I
you were
just checked
talking,
it.
but I
We got-
did.
We
And,
received approval? Okay.
They changed the title to Agribusiness, Sales, and Management, and
Right,
that was
agribusiness, okay, so the previous title was Sales and Management Skills, and it's been changed to Agribusiness, Sales, and Management Skills. Okay. Okay, so we have a consent agenda here with 8 items, and we've changed Annex 1, course title, and Annex 2, we've revoked SM 546. So are there any objections or points of discussion for any of these annexes? Potomac State, do you have any questions or points of discussion?
No questions or point of discussion, sir.
Okay, and Tech, do you have any questions or points of discussion?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, in that case, all those in favor of approving Annexes 1, 2, 3, 4, the 2 new majors, the program change, and the certificate, please say aye. Aye. Okay, opposed? Okay. Potomac State, how do you vote?
3 ayes, sir.
And Tech, how do you vote? Oops, I think you might be on mute. Okay,
I don't know.
oh, there you go.
Nope. WVU Tech has 5 ayes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, next.
Okay, the next is 4 information items. We have 5 new minors, 1 in Appalachian music, 1 in criminology, 1 in cybersecurity, a new minor in entrepreneurship, and a new minor in hospitality and tourism management. I'd also submit the graduate report, which is Annex 5, and changes to the timeline for approving new courses, which is Annex 6.
Okay, thank you. And I'll actually encourage everyone, if you've not done so already, please read Annex 6, which is changes to the timeline for approving new courses. Are there any questions or discussions for any of this? Potomac State, do you have any questions or points of discussion?
No, sir.
Okay. Tech, do you have any questions or points of discussion?
No questions.
Okay, hearing none. The 5 minors, Annex 5 and Annex 6 are filed. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is the Jeff report from Natalie St. Corcoran.
Okay, so for approval, we have Annex 7, which is Math 126. And as Kim mentioned, Math 126 replaces Math 126 A, B, and C.
Right, so it's a pretty trivial change there. Okay, are there any questions or points of discussion? Tech or Potomac State? I'll go Potomac State, do you have any questions or points of discussion?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. And Tech, do you have any questions or points of discussion?
No questions.
Okay. In that case, all those in favor of approving Annex 7, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Potomac State, how do you vote?
3 ayes, sir.
Okay, and Tech, how do you vote?
5 ayes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, next.
Okay, and for information is Annex 8, and that's that list of about 24 courses for transition.
Okay, so Annex 8 is for information. Are there any questions or points of discussion? Potomac State, do you have any questions or points of discussion on Annex 8?
No, sir.
Okay. And Tech, do you have any questions or points of discussion?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Natalie. Next is Roy Nutter, report from faculty rep to state government.
Roy Nutter, Statler College, and your ACF rep. I guess the way to describe legislature right now is they're running a lot of bills through. I don't see any of them particularly relating directly to us other than budget and salary and all that, which we've already heard. So any questions, and I'll sit down.
All right, thank you, Roy. We'll move on to Stan for the Board of Governors report.
All right, to get this done. So we had a Board of Governors meeting on the 16th of February. Matt already talked about there are some rules that we approved for comment, so that period is open. A lot of those deal with faculty issues, so you might want to look at those. We approved $3.4 million to complete the architectural and engineering phase of the Hodges Hall renovation, so that will start to move forward. And then Rob Alsop gave us a legislative update, part of which Provost McConnell talked about. And as Matt also mentioned, that there will be a special meeting tomorrow. Program development and course development's one thing, student academic rights, faculty reduction in force, grade point rules, residency requirements. Those are all some of the things that is in that cadre of rules that we will be probably putting up for comment tomorrow.
Okay. All right, are there any questions for Stan? So Potomac State, did you have questions for either Stan or Roy?
No, sir. Thank you.
And Tech, did you have questions for either Stan or Roy?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. New business, is there any new business to come before the Senate? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to adjourn? And second? Okay, we are adjourned. And we are on time. So the reward for finishing early is we can now all move next door.
Yeah, can I get the jet ski?
We could ride our jet ski over there.